Welcome everyone to our annual yearly rack walkthrough. It also coincides with our 3,000 subs special. So just a quick note, thank you. I say this often, but I started this channel just as a marketing thing, just to get my name out there, and it has started to grow to a lot more. In no small part to the guy behind the camera there, but obviously in major no small part to everyone who supports the channel and watches. It is very much appreciated, and it's very humbling when I hear from people or see you shows. But without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and start from the top and work our way down. Obviously I've had to grow up. I've run out of room here because I have to keep a brother in this room as well. This is where I chain him and make him work. Please help me. Normally I'm just going to show you them in the racks, but for these top ones, obviously we're not both climbing up on top of a ladder. So this one here is a Candino pied. I created her, and she has gone on a bit of a food strike. She's at that 1,000 gram wall. But what I really like about Candino pieds is this sort of stuff, and this is the reason I kept this one. It's very low light, but you can see a bit of a peaking right there. This was a pied pairing, and I created a sister from her, and I've created some other sisters as well. Hoping to do the same thing this year. I just like making these, and this is the reason I like them. This bruising coloring right here. Very different from albino pieds in that Candy and albino are allelic. It creates this more purple plumish type color coming in rather than the whites that quite often fade out. We'll get to a albino pied that I also made, and they both have the same mother, but I like the Candino ones better because of this. Sometimes with the albino pieds it doesn't bleed quite as much, but often it does, and when this one bleeds into it, you get purple rather than just an off-tone yellow. But she's really cool. I just hope she starts eating again soon so that we can get her up to size and breed her as well. Next up, hopefully you can read my handwriting, this is a Blackhead, Enchi, Lavender, possible Yellowbelly, Het Pied Female, and she is gorgeous. I never really thought I was going to get into Lavender albino, and then it just kind of happened. The reason I did would be a male that we're going to eventually get to here. I got him for a different reason, and he's going to serve his purpose quite well for me, but I figured, why would I waste that gene? Why not put it to use? And I could put her to use when you see him later, and you can see the sorts of stuff I can create. The Blackhead is the reason I targeted this though. It is super cool. Blackhead is a dark morph, but this is not a dark snake, right? That is because Blackhead is not just a dark morph. It works very well in animals to create a lot of cool contrasts, and it's where you get these beautiful oranges, these nice neon yellows as well. And you can see the oranges here, like you get a bit of that, and then you get the blushing, and then a burst of really nice orange. I love that because it's kind of faded orange, almost like a whitish hue, and then just a burst of orange just randomly. And there are times where this animal gives off a pink hue. I don't think the camera is picking that up, but it is definitely giving off some pink hues right here. Definitely something I can use to create a lot of cool combos in the future. You'll see what I mean, why I couldn't have let that lavender gene just go to waste. Before I go any further, I kind of wanted to describe how I try to keep these separated. These are smaller females. They are sometimes just grouts, and then they get moved over to these ones. Sometimes they stay a little bit on the smaller side, and they can stay in these. Males, however, they kind of stay in there as well, and the males stay at the bottom. I also have another rack, a closet there next to the incubator. So moving on to our female black pastel banana het clown. I got this one from Hulker's Herps a while back, I think 3 years ago, and it went on a mighty hunger strike for me, but she seems to be over with that now, and I'm super happy about that. She's gorgeous, and I really wanted black pastel with banana because of this dark lavender that it keeps as it grows up. She's pretty big. She should be ready this season, finally. You'll notice how a normal banana, they start to kind of bleed out and become almost a two-tone yellow. Black pastel keeps that, and it keeps it really nice and dark and lavender. Not to mention the het clown, which is what I really want to get into there, because I've got plans for her to eventually breed with my Spotnose GHI clown, and I think that's going to be really cool if I can hit the whole thing. If I can get banana GHI black pastels, that's going to be really nice, I think. Get Spotnose in there as well. That's always a very good combo. But I think she's finally going. I think she had a bit of a bad experience. I feed live, but I'm always monitoring everything, but that doesn't make it always 100% perfect. There was one time she bit a rat, and she didn't wrap it. She just bit it right on the face. And I think that spooked her because the rat started thrashing, and she let it go, and she just stopped eating for a very long time. But now she's back, and I think she's on the race to getting to the size she needs to be for me to safely breed her, and I couldn't be more happy because she's really cool and very beautiful. Moving on to one of my favorite genes, this Het Monarch, who is unfortunately in shed. However, a het, well, just looks mostly like a normal, right? However, I do want to point something out with monarchs that has been made aware to me, and I essentially agree with this, that there is a het marker, and near the end of the tail, they kind of taper off into this kind of wavy line. I know a lot of snakes taper off near the tail, but this is a 1/4 of the inch back, so she She is also on a hunger strike right now. She's at that 1,000-gram wall. If she can break it, I can breed her this year, but she needs a little bit more size. Obviously, I would be putting her to the Monarch and creating more visual Monarchs. I'd like to get a female visual for myself, and then I'd like to start producing them, you know, bringing them to shows. But yeah, she's really cool, and she represents me making a bigger footnote in the Monarch breeding community, which is something I really am excited to do. And again, I try to keep all of this kind of together. So on that is another Monarch, but this one is also Pastel, and it is double het. It is a Monarch G-stripe. Well, het Monarch G-stripe. She has gotten some pretty good size to her as well. She is still eating. She's not as big as the other girl. She's also not quite as old, about 6 months younger, I believe. All of my Monarchs, right now anyways, come from Tom Harving. It's just kind of worked out that way. Tom makes wonderful stuff. I want to create genetic stripe Monarchs. And Pastel in Monarch looks awesome. It really works because Monarch is a very clean gene. It also cleans up, kind of similar to how Desert Ghost works. So Desert Ghost and Pastel work very well. So it's no surprise that Monarch and Pastel work very well as well. It's a different look. It's a little bit brighter, but it's clean. And I kind of want to work both ways. I'm more excited about the dark forms of Monarch, but I certainly do appreciate and know that it can do some stuff with bright as well. I'm excited what she can do for me. I have a boy for her to go to, and it's not the visual Monarch actually, because he is not a double het. All right, well, we've gotten through one essential rack here. So moving on to another girl who I absolutely love would be this Sterling, which is a super pastel cinnamon puzzle. She's also possible het daddy. Well, I like the other word for it, and that is Weirdo. And I don't think she's possible. I basically had it all but confirmed. She is Weirdo or het daddy. I really love what this animal can do, and I think she's gonna go this year. She'll be late, but I think she will, and I bred her to my Monarch as well. She's got some really good size to her. She has actually stopped eating a little bit, and she has never once stopped eating. Obviously, she's always gonna pass the Pastel on, but that's okay considering I'm wanting it in Monarch. I would rather not get a super Pastel because I want a cinnamon Weirdo that's het puzzle het Monarch, because I want to create puzzle Monarch. That has been done actually. There's a lot of people who have shown them off, and they look really awesome. So I think the only ingredients at that point that can be added are things that might add some more cool contrast to that, and I think cinnamon is really where I want to go with that, because I like that darker tone of it, and cinnamon does that very well. Just her in general, what I love is these nice dark undertones, and the fact that the pattern is basically along the sides of it, almost like some goofy genetic stripe or something like that, where the stripes are just wavy instead, like a tri-stripe. And then suddenly it's weird. All this goofy pattern down the whole snake, leaving a perfectly uninterrupted blank pattern in the middle until you reach the end, and then it becomes straight. It's very cool and very weird. I'd like to see it a little bit darker, but she's full grown, and this is what she looks like. I like the peachy undertones to her side here. And again, like I said, I can't get over the dark patterning underneath of it. Look at near her neck, just like it's some barbed wires. One of my more exciting snakes, for sure, one that I'm very excited about. These next three I got pretty recently. These are some of the ones I am most excited about. They're not even close to ready yet. They've got at least 2 more years, I'd say. When my plans have come together with this, I hope to be creating some absolutely killer things. So starting off would be my first stranger, and she is absolutely wonderful. She is a stranger Yellowbelly het clown, and I got her from Spartan Pythons, and I don't know if it's for sure, but I believe that there are better and different examples of stranger, and this is one of the best examples. I love everything I see from Spartan Pythons. I've seen strangers before that made me think, they're kind of dark, but I never understood until I started seeing things like this. And I know the Yellowbelly affects this to a extent too, but I love when snakes have this sort of granulation in there, and it is dark, and I like that. But the Yellowbelly really brings in these flames. It's not just pure dark, it's flirting with both. And what I want to create, obviously, is the clown version of this, because she is het clown. Again, I want to put my Spotnose GHI clown to her, and the objective obviously is to create a stranger clown, but specifically I wanted to create a stranger Yellowbelly clown because that is something that first made me fall in love with it. And ironically, it was from Spartan Pythons. We put it in our top 5 of one of the Schaumburg shows, and I am over the moon happy that I was able to secure one from them that obviously was not visual, but it's minus just one of those genes, and I can create that when she gets the size in hopefully a couple years. You can keep eating for me, right, girl? Please? Because I can't wait to create that, and maybe then some. If I can hit that Spotnose especially, that's really when I want to get in there. The GHI just being an extra bonus. I just can't get over how perfectly dark it is and shaded, but yet some granulation in there. I love things like this that create these dark, look at this perfect shadow. It's like something from some sort of like medieval painting. It's unique, and it's very dark where it needs to be, but then it shades off. It's spooky almost. Oop. Hi. I was looking at the camera too. I think you can tell I'm excited about this one. She's gorgeous, but this next one might be the most powerful snake I have. This is a GHI Black Pastel, Redstripe, Yellowbelly, Clown, and she is 50% at Hypo. I will soon be sending in a shed test for her because my male I'd be putting it to is a GHI Spotnose Clown, 100% head Hypo now. You can see where I'm going with this. This is a Pompeii maker. I like to call it the Pompeii -1 because that's exactly what it is. It is missing Spotnose, so obviously my pairing would hopefully introduce that. However, it is carrying GHI, which is something that the Pompeii did not have. So I would love to create the GHI Pompeii, and I have a fairly good chance of doing that. In fact, I have a chance of creating the super GHI Pompeii. No matter what I create, it will be awesome. Now, I do worry that maybe super GHI might be a little too much, but if I can get that Hypo, my possibilities of making awesome stuff are endless. Every single animal that comes out of this is probably going to be electric. My heart really switched to this more dark snake, and it's not just dark, that's the thing. It has so much contrast. It's dark where it's important, but then it bursts through with color, and that's what I love about these. And even her, she does the same thing. You can see if you put a Pompeii next to her, you can see the similarities, but Spotnose does a lot. The combo between Spotnose and Yellowbelly especially, I think, really has an incredible reaction in what it does to the animal. So you can see the similarities, but there's still a lot of differences. On top of that, obviously, I don't believe a GHI Pompeii has ever been created, and that's what I'm going for, as well as Pompeii Hypo. I have the potential to make something awesome. I just hope that she is head Hypo. I will know one way or the other. That pairing is happening inevitably no matter what, but I can't get over how awesome she is. The subtle burnt, like tan, the whites that are creeping up, the yellows, and like I said, what the GHI does is bring in this. It's like bright but yet shaded. Every scale is shaded with just a hair of black, and that's what GHI does. And then the head, it's just almost completely blank. It's exotic among exotic. Just these almost like little ears in a way coming into the head, and that's it. Just splashing into the base of the skull. Otherwise, just this incredible tannish type, like leathery color. I'm very excited about what I can eventually do with her. And she is a great eater, and she needs to stay that way because holy cow, if you're seeing what I'm seeing and what the future of what we can do with her, it's super exciting. Now you'll notice as we're moving through here that all of my animals are in paper right now. In the winter, that is not the case. All of them are on cocoa husk. And that is because where we live, we don't get regular weather. We get extremes. During the summer, it is very hot and incredibly humid. And that is what it is today. All I need to do is put towels in there and get them a little bit wet. In the past years, what I would do is I'd still keep going the cocoa husk, and it was like a tropical jungle in there. It was sweating down, way overdone. I barely put anything in it. And then the gnats. Oh my God, they stunk. We have our computers in this room, and at night when we'd have just a computer screen on, they'd be attacked by gnats. It was so silly. Now, gnats are harmless, at least around here, but they're annoying. So during the summer, I switch to paper. During the winter, I go back to cocoa husk, because during the winter, it's the opposite. Really cold and really dry. So every single thing you see today is going to be on paper. Well, other than the hog noses. Yes, there will be hog noses this year. Moving on would be another cool girl, and she is a Pixel Cypress Pastel Het genetic stripe. I got this for the Pixel because I really wanted to get around working with that gene, and I also got it because it has Cypress in it, and I really wanted to work both of those. The fact that they're together is even better. Now, what Pixel does, it's very similar to GHI, only it kind of goes across the whole body and it doesn't darken it quite as much. You can see right here, kind of similar to the GHI, just a little bit different. Now, the Pastel has, I believe, kept it at bay just a bit, and the Cypress is bringing in this really jet black color, but you get a lot of this bleeding. It's almost like dirty look, but a controlled chaos with the Pixel, and I like that. It's just a different flavor of GHI, and I wanted to kind of mess around with that. I don't know what route I want to go yet. So right off the bat, I was like, I want to get into Monarch, but I don't know. Cypress and Clown go really, really well together in my opinion. I'd like to see what Pixel does with that too. I'm not sure about the genetic stripe. That kind of came along with the ride. I was advised that the genetic stripe by the breeder, nice little pixelation, it pulls it away. So I still might mess around with that just to have a genetic powerhouse, but I don't know. Either way, a really cool animal. Something I didn't think I would come across. Now, this one, along with the last two that you saw, I got on Morph Market Auctions, which is just an incredible resource that we have right now. If you as a seller want to move something quick, or if you've had it for a long time, throw it on Morph Market Auctions. You are not going to get what you had originally wanted. It's not going to go for that. It's not the point of the auction. But you are going to sell it, and if you are a buyer, you have the potential to get some really cool things. Just keep your eye out there. You might need to bring genes along that maybe you didn't expect to bring along. You can find some great deals. Again, I plan to test her. I'm gonna be sending in her shed to RGI so that I can find out if she's hit hypo, and I hope she is. But it is what it is, but I still wanna know. And eventually it would help me make other decisions in the future when I'm doing this pairing as well, because I don't think I'll do that every single year unless I don't hit what I want. Now moving on to one of our first Monarch males, and he is probably close to being ready. Males don't need to get so big, and this is a double het, and that's all he is a Het Monarch Het genetic stripe. I bought him with a pairing with the Pastel Het genetic stripe. I won him in an auction actually at Tinley. Hello there. The curiosity of these animals is just so cool. But I got him to create Monarch G stripes. Although eventually there's the possibility of him going to that pixel Het genetic stripe to create a genetic stripe pixel that is Het Monarch, and then there is no genetic test for Monarch, but it is inevitable that there will be one created, and then at that point I could send them in. So I think I'm going to do that pairing. Right now I'm not leaning towards it. Like I said, I think I'm leaning towards the clown because clown genetic stripes are really cool. The Kikis, getting Pixel and Cypress in there. But let's just talk about him. He is, for all intents and purposes, just the normal, but it's what's underneath the skin that is important, and that would be to go to this girl here that we showed off earlier. I do plan to expand and get a male that is not one that I create eventually from a lot of these pairings. It would be probably just a het. Now for this one I won't do that, but for the others, the eventual combos that I want to create, I want to get more genetics in there, and I can't do that unless I add them myself or create them myself, and it would be easier to create the females I think and keep the females and then buy double het male. So that's with other genes. This one I've already got the double het, so while he might not look like all that much of an important thing to me, he is, and he represents just getting another line of monarchs out for myself, and he really would like to get to the females. I think he's ready. Are you? No, too bad. She's not. All right, now moving on to my males. These are my main males. I do have other ones in our closet next to our incubator, but a lot of my main males stay out here. And that first one, we call him King, but he is the GHI Spotnose clown that is 100% hypo, proven by a genetic test. Hypo is not something that I planned to work necessarily, but sometimes things just happen for a reason. And that GHI Black Pastel Redstripe, Yellowbelly clown, 50% het hypo. Her possibility of being hypo is too much to pass on now that I know that he is 100% het hypo. I really hope so, but he is a puppy dog. He is so mild-mannered, and most snakes when you pick him up are really rigid and hard. He's so relaxed all the time. He just comes out very chill. This is the most agitated he gets. Obviously most snakes don't really care for their heads being pat, but after a while he just tolerates it. What I really like about the GHI, again, is this just subtle shading of the scale. The shadowing in here, which almost is off a ghostly greenish hue in an ever so slight way on him. It's almost like that hypo is like peeking through just a teensy little bit right there. He was one that I got from Justin with Canova. He represented a big time step forward for me. When I got him, the market was still high on these animals. It's since come down a little bit, but I was able to get those animals out. Everything I paid into him has been paid back to me and then some, and I have created my first Batman, which we'll show off a little bit later. But he's one of my favorites. I don't really know if I would ever part with him, and I try to preach that you should eventually upgrade, but he is a major addition here, a huge member of the Rhinos Royals team, if you will. Just such an awesome, perfect snake. And look at his nose, little heart right there, living up to the name of Spotnose. But he has a lot of dates, and he's never failed me yet. He always does very well in producing animals for me. Yeah, there's going to be other snakes that become more useful than him, but he will always have a bit of a use. Now moving on to our visual Monarch. What can I say about Monarch that I have not said in many of my other videos? The absolute insanity that you see before you. There's nothing that gets quite like this. The bright, beautiful colors on the pattern, but really what gets me, these deep mahogany chocolate browns. In some combos, you can even flirt with purple on these, but nothing captures the rich, beautiful colors that you get on these ones. I want to do everything in the world with Monarch. This project has so much future growth, and it has already proven itself on so much. When you look at what the Spotnose Monarch clown that has been created, when you look at the Monarch pieds, how intense and incredibly beautiful they are. Nothing does it quite like this. Again, this is an adult, and this is how vibrant it is. You didn't get any fading in here. It's still very rich, very beautiful, and this is how they stay, because they're not just a T+ albino, and in a lot of albinos, which we'll show you later, they fade out as they grow older. It's not like they're still not beautiful, but they change, and that doesn't really happen here. What you see was what you get when they're a baby. There's so much more that can be added to this. The ability to put this thing to so many many other projects and watch it work so well with them is why I fell in love with this morph. You can't lose with Monarch. There's so much that I have him going to, which we'll show off briefly later. I've already created my double hets when it comes to Pied, and I have a female, which we're going to get to, which is very gravid and has already had a full-blown ovulation to create clowns and clown combos. I can't get over how excited I am for this project and its future. Again, I put it to my puzzle. I want to get Monarch into so much stuff that I'm going to get into trouble. All right, now we're down to the hands and knees portion. Unfortunately, another dude in shed, but look how cool and creamy and vibrant he is. This one right here is an Enchi Orange Dream Pastel Pied that is also 100% Het Lavender. He's the reason why I got the girl in the beginning, because I got him and he was just more or less supposed to be an upgrade for some of my Pied projects and some other things that I'm working on. But when he came with the Het Lavender, it just kind of worked out. It was just a good price and it immediately got me thinking I needed to get some lavender in there. I can't tell you how excited I am to create some combos and how useful he is for me. He's not just useful for that one project. I didn't even get him for that one. I've got him going to a lot of different animals, and he actually, even though he's a little bit on the smaller side, has started some work for me. Just a couple females this year, but he is producing sperm plugs and he's locking, and I'm hoping to get some clutches here. Again, I wish he was not in shed, but the creamy, beautiful orangish yellow that he has on him, the dark contrasts that sprinkle its way through. Contrast is king. I often say this. I love contrast. It's super important, and there's so many different ways of contrast. People might think contrast is just this, but it's also the darks, it's the clean, the dirty. There's a whole bunch that you can contrast to it, and the more the better. He has a lot of that going on for him, and he can create animals that have a lot. So he is really cool. He's going to be very useful for me in the future, as he already is right now. All right, this is my reticulated python. No, it's not. This is Anubis. He thinks he's a reticulated python. He eats like one, and boy, oh boy, does he love to breed. Look at him buck against me too. It's so funny. One of my very first breeders that I got. I really wanted to get bamboo into my collection, and that's why I got him. He's a proven breeder. He has proven for me time and time again. Unfortunately, he is just bamboo pastel pinstripe or bamboo lemon blast. However, he's like a mentor. I'm not kidding you. There are certain tricks of the trade you can do to get your males that are intimidated or whatever they might be to start breeding. One option for a very brief amount of time would be to put the two males together. The reason I say a very brief and very supervised amount of time is because they will buck each other. They'll like wrestle each other. Like he'll just hit them, and that will get the males really going. I have found doing that for a brief period of time as the final straw works almost every time. This snake is also the snake that gives me the closest call to a wretched bite. One day when I was doing my regular feeding, I opened up one of these and I had forgotten that I had paired him with a girl in there. And like I mentioned, he loves food. He does not smell food right now, so he is perfectly fine. But if he smells food, he is a different animal. He's very much like a reticulated python. So he came darting out towards me. I was like, uh-oh, I made a mistake. I put the rodent back in the tub, which I had below me. This was all happening in roughly 5 seconds. I then grab him to go put him back in his tub. As I'm moving him over, again, remember, over the rat tub, he darts down, boom, boom, striking at the rats, missing, and then moves for the next closest heat source. Yeah, he got my shorts, thankfully, and not my other thing, and then proceeded to wrap my shorts and pull them down. So that was the most embarrassing mistake I ever did, and I had a whole video where I talk about those mistakes if you wanted to check that out. Now the last one in this rack, his name is Gold Dust. He's actually my sun snake, but I'm about to run out of use for him. He is actually just a triple het. You might look at this and say, how is this a triple het? This is not a normal looking snake, but that is because of what we talked about earlier in allelic combos, and he is actually a Candino. He is a het candy, het albino, and it creates an allelic combo that somehow looks like this, even though they're not the same gene, and he gets those cool looking lavenders on him. He's also het pied. I eventually want to create a male that is a visual pied that is Candino. For whatever reason, every year that I create these things, I get a fair amount of Candino pieds, and they're all females, which is great for the most part when you're trying to sell them, but I would like to upgrade this to a visual version so that I continue working that project. It's not my greatest passion in terms of animals, but it is one that I do like, and they sell well on my table too. So interesting fact about him is, at least I've always noticed, is that his left eye is slightly bigger than his right eye. And the reason he's called Gold Dust was actually an old wrestler kind of named him for, but look at his eyes. He has golden eyes. I've always thought that that was really cool and unique, and it's where we kind of got his name from. But however, I might might just get him a little enclosure and move him into my son's room. We are officially done with one rack. Now we're gonna move to this Redstripe clown that we call Vayda. I don't name all my animals, by the way. A lot of the names are actually named by other people, whether it be my brother or my wife or my son. But I got this animal because I wanted to get Redstripe into more of my projects. It was an incredibly good deal. She should be going this year. I'm really hoping. She started eating again though, so I don't know, but I'm still very, very hopeful. She still locks. Occasionally I will still pair them as long as they're eating, so we'll see. But Redstripe is by itself a little bit more of a subtle gene. What you notice here is these explodings on the sides, almost kind of similar to Yellowbelly. You see these patterns just kind of creep up, but where it breaks, it's like a flame has erupted from the crust of the earth or something like that, and it opens it up kind of. In combos though, it can be very, very intense. In fact, it is a very key ingredient to the Pompeii, and you can definitely see when you put them side by side with a regular clown the differences. Just a really cool, beautiful animal in and of itself. We're gonna go ahead and leave her be because these are starting to get to the animals that are either breeding or have already laid, so usually I try to not mess with them quite as much. Moving on to Pennywise, my clown spider, which is appropriately named, right? I'm sure anybody who's seen the It movies understands. This is pretty much my only spider I have, and it was one of the first ones I got because clown was expensive and I wanted to get a visual clown and start making examples of the clowns, and I wouldn't do it these days. She has no wobble at all to speak of. She is very good. All of her babies have been very, very good. I didn't get any wobble at all from any of her babies. I believe that she might be gravid as well. She's not one that I plan to keep. Possibly even this year I'll move on from her after her next clutch. Mostly just because I'm just moving out of the spider gene for several different reasons. I do not have a problem with people who breed spiders. I just don't care for what it does to it. I think it just reduces the pattern too much. So I think that eventually I will move on from her, although she's been a great breeder and she's been a great snake. Furthermore, I always like to say this, but it has been thought through science now that it's not a neurological issue now. It's being reported that it's an inner ear deformity that causes balancing issues. Whether you say that that's better or not, I mean, that's up to you. I'm just saying that it is not a brain issue. It's an inner ear deformity that does that. All right, this girl has given me my first ever Batmans, and we call her Dottie because she's Dottie. But she is a pastel orange dream leopard het clown, and she is one that we proved. This is the first time I ever did a genetic test through RGI. I sent it in and we did the whole video on it, and we proved her out as 100% het pied as well, which means her babies, they can be very, very powerful. What I paired her to was the male that we showed earlier, King. These two are what made my clutch where I got my first Batman, which, you know what? We're gonna bring him out. We're gonna jump ahead and show the baby that I'm keeping from this. Here is my very first Batman ever. Dad, mom, son. And I'm keeping him. He is a pastel Spotnose leopard clown, which is the Batman. And he is orange dream as well, we believe. On top of all that, he is 50% het pied and 50% het hypo, because he is 100% het hypo and she is 100% het pied. So he has a lot of power to him potentially. So I gotta send that in so that I can find out, because if he is both het pied and het hypo, or if he's even one of those, then that changes a lot of things for me. But let's go ahead and put them back. I really appreciate her example of leopard. What first got me really loving this animal. Now, she had a sister as well that was Yellowbelly, and to this day I kick myself for not spending the extra little bit of money and getting her. But that doesn't mean she's not awesome. The leopard, again, that's another one where I see different varying examples. Look at all what it does. It really lives up to the name. And then the dark, when it comes in, black as night. Pastel was always something that just came along for the ride. I honestly wish I could swap Pastel for the Yellowbelly, but it's fine. And you can see in that male that we got, it works out fine. He's gorgeous. And that, I think, is just because I'm pretty sure the Orange Dream is reining a lot of that in. Just Pastel can brown out and stuff like that, but she's full size and she still looks gorgeous. Still has a lot of use for me because I really wanted that GHI Batman, specifically with Orange Dream as well. I hit one copy of a snake with GHI in it. I got hosed on those odds, and I actually only hit 2 clowns, the Batman and then one other. So I want to make that pairing again next year. Next up would be this banana clown, which is also possible leopard. I think she's gonna go this year, but I can't say for certain. She's definitely on the smaller size, but she is of size to breed. She hasn't eaten, she's showing a lot of the signs of it, and she's not much smaller than Dottie here. And I thought Dottie was gonna skip this year, and then the next day after I had that thought, she laid her clutch. So that's what I'm hoping for her. I got her looking like this. I hope she's leopard because I'm pairing her again to that GHI Spotnose, because I want to make the Spotnose banana clowns, and if she's leopard, then I can get another Batman, and I can get a banana Batman at that, which I believe is the Scarecrow. And I think those are awesome. I almost bought a Scarecrow instead of King over there, but I figured figured, why do that when I can create it and I can get GHI along for the ride as well? That Het Hypo was a gamble, but it ended up paying off, obviously. I love banana. Who doesn't love the banana gene and the coral glow genes? They're so intense and cool like that, and when you can get it into a female, then you can create more females. You might not know, but the banana gene and the coral glow gene, they're the only gene that attaches itself to the sex chromosome. Most banana males only create banana males unless they're a female maker. There's so many goofy rules with this, and we made a whole video on it. This is one that I drove very far to pick up. It was during that summer where everything got shut down, and I drove all the way into Iowa to meet Jim from Southwest Wisconsin Reptiles and pick her up along with a bunch of other animals. And she is a super pastel Russo clown. Now Russo is very subtle. It is a enhancing gene, and Canova showed off a lot of what Russo can do in combos. It really excites me when I see things like that. Super pastels brown out. You can kind of see that here, but then it stays off on the sides and keeps it nice and bright and clean. Just for full clarity, she is in a shed, I believe a prelay shed at that. She recently ovulated, so I am not going to move her around too much because I want to leave her be. But Russo really keeps these nice clean sides and stuff like that. It is, by the way, a member of the blue-eyed leucistics. So if you get two Russos together, you're going to get what's called a white diamond, I think is the combo's name. I do not want that, but I did pair her to my Monarch. So what I will get are double hets. Every single one of her babies will be Het Clown and Het Monarch. Also, every single one will be pastel. She's a super pastel. Always gonna pass it on. Not a bad thing, because pastel, as we talked about earlier, works very well with Monarch. So I'm not mad about that. Plus, it's not super she's creating. He is never gonna pass pastel on. I'm okay with that. Then the Russo gene. That's gonna be a little trickier to identify. I'm gonna try, if I choose to hold back a male, I don't wanna hold back one with Russo, and also have the female have Russo, because I don't wanna create a Monarch clown that's all white with blue eyes. That would stink. So what I want to do is get one copy with Russo to have that nice, beautiful enhancing. So again, another one that I'm going to have to probably send in for genetic testing to make sure that I don't accidentally hold back two. And now more likely, I'm going to buy another male, preferably with Spotnose. Spotnose Het Monarch, because I want to create that Spotnose Monarch. Only I'd like to also get it with Russo in there to get the little bit that more enhancing in there. Exciting things coming from her. I love the Monarch clowns, and that's my opportunity to create my own. Moving on, here would be another animal I created, and that would be an albino pied, and she is also rabid. Should be laying soon. She's not showing the behaviors of it right now, but she often has been. You can see in contrast to the Candino pied that we had earlier how different they are. You can see instead of the lavenders, you're getting a much more bright yellow. So a two-toned yellow snake basically is what you're looking at here. That's kind of what happens with albinos as they age. This used to be a very bright white for the most part, but you just kind of bled in and created this. Now thankfully it bled very well in my opinion. It's not faded in any way. It's just two-toned yellow, and I'm very happy with her. She was always very vibrant. I like the albino pied projects. It's one of the first things I ever created, and they always do very well. They sell very well because they're strikingly beautiful. And now that prices have come down, you might think I might be upset about that, but I'm not. I sell these as high-class pets sometimes to certain people. Same thing with the Candino pieds. They can sell for that, and they can sell to breeders. They're just a really good selling animal. You can also see from the peaking whites that my taste in pieds, it's more pattern than white. Now I would normally like a little bit more, but I do like more pattern in my pieds because the pattern is wonky and cool, and the white I feel exists only to contrast to what else you're seeing. So I'm excited to see some of the babies that she creates because this is an animal I made. Here is one of the first animals I got, and I got her as a breeder. Her clutch is what produced my Het Monarch Het pieds, and we know what? We might as well show them off. That girl right there that you see is staying here. If you've seen Canova's most recent video about Monarch pieds, you can see why. For the longest time, I only ever saw them with fire, and I felt it was a bit too bright. It's just a different flavor of it, I feel, but it wasn't my flavor, if that makes sense. Seeing them without it was just gorgeous, especially the one he made with mahogany. So similar to how what I just said with the clown monarchs that I'm creating, I would like to buy a male. Now I am planning on keeping one of the males until I have guaranteed that, but I would love to get that mahogany or something similar, another dark gene, Blackhead Monarch pied, like hets. Again, it has to tick that box though. They have to be Het Monarch and Het pied and then have another gene in them. And that's not always easy to do if you're not creating it yourself. And well, I've already created my het, so I need to find a male, I feel. Especially for this one, that can add a gene to make it a little bit better. And I want it to be a darkening gene. So mahogany, black pastel, something along those lines. Now this is also where I got the two smallest snakes I've ever hatched. And I was very worried. One One of the eggs was dried out and unfortunately did not make it. But then one of them was a little bit small, and this is a small animal. Has successfully eaten 3 times for me already though, and is starting to get to a decent size. 34 grams, I think, when she came out. Also a girl right there. I might keep her. I wish I had hit one more female, but you know, it is what it is. She has grown a bit since I fed her. However, this next one, which is a boy, is easily the smallest snake I have ever hatched. This was 21 grams and it was about the size of a small hognose snake. I was very concerned about this animal. However, it has struck and taken. I did have to assist feed right away because this one did not absorb much yolk, but it has started to take meals. So I'm very hopeful and I think that it'll be fine. But they were the smallest animals I have had, and they all came from her. I don't know why they were that teeny. It was like one side of the box was just not good. I have not had the greatest luck this year, but you know that's gonna happen whenever you breed animals. If you are looking to this as a prospective breeder, I feel like it's important to tell you that like not everything is sunshine and roses. I've had some good luck, but I've had some rotten luck this year, more so than I would certainly like. But as you can see, this girl here, I got her from Royal Constrictor Pythons as a full-fledged breeder. Very high white, and at the time I really liked high white pieds, but she's still very gorgeous and she's been always a very good girl for me. The funny thing about her is we think she might be partially blind. She's always had very poor hunting skills, but look at those pupils. They're ghostly. It's never stopped her from eating. Sometimes I've had to assist her a little. One time she wrapped a rodent's tail, and just the tail. That was not great. I had to move in on that one. That's why if you feed live, you need to monitor it. She's always been a very good breeder for me. I didn't even mention what she was. She's pied 100% het albino. So that's why actually some of her babies, I probably don't want to take the chance. If I end up having to keep a male and just go for the monarch pieds, I'm gonna have to test the 3 that I have to make sure they don't have albino. I do not want an albino monarch. They would wash each other out completely. So with her being, like I said, 100% het albino, just something that the babies are, like I said, they're 50% het albino, and it's something I do not need. And as long as I don't get the male with it, we're fine. Next up would be the meanest one I have, and by mean, I just mean defensive. Maleficent is her name, and she is also gravid. You can kind of see it here. She has not eaten in a long time, but she's got a big bump. She always hides it pretty well, I feel, though, because how rigid she is. Surprised she's even letting us get this close. She is fast. She wants to be. Right now, I think she's just nervous, so she wants to keep an eye on us. But this animal, whatever fear I had left of snakes, I got over it with her. I held her for time and time and time. I've tried everything I could to get her to relax around me, but it will never work. She just does not want to be really messed with. She just loves being in her box all by herself. I don't even like feeding her sometimes unless I know she's gonna eat. She just pins the rodent and bullies them. She just very much wants to be left alone. Ironically, I've never been bitten by this animal though, but she's reminded me that she could have. I have been headbutted by her 3 or 4 times just to say, get the heck away from me. But we're gonna close it. She did real well. Now these are some of the first snakes, the next 2, that I ever created. And this is what I alluded to earlier about a project that I probably would change my mind on. And that would be moving forward with the bamboo pied projects. Bamboo pieds are very high white, and usually it's just a head pattern. But I love bamboo. It's one of my favorite co-dominants. It does have limits, but by itself, it's so strong and so beautiful. But this one here is a bamboo pastel pinstripe het pied. So like her dad, which we showed earlier in Anubis, but just having that extra het. And she is also gravid. We believe that she is going to lay this year, and that would be to that Enchi Orange Dream Pastel pied het lavender boy. Now the reason why I wanted to do this is because I wanted to get pinstripe and I wanted to get Enchi into a pied with bamboo. My objective is to create an Enchi pinstripe bamboo pied. It'd be nice if Orange Dream came along for that ride, but that is the overall objective. I actually do not want to hit on the pastel, even though I have a very high chance of doing that. The reason why is because, like I said, bamboo pieds are very high white, to the point where sometimes it's an all white snake. It even bleaches the head out. But Enchi and pinstripe are known to bring in pattern on pied. And my thought process is, what you could do if you could get that cool coloring from bamboo, but without taking away the pattern to the point where it's completely gone. And a way to do that would be to get Enchi in there. So that was my thought process. But what I'm going to end up with here is probably still a very nearly all white snake. Probably not as much, but we'll see. I already started working the project, and again, I made that pairing a long time ago to create this animal. And I got to see it through and be able to tell the story of, did that work? And furthermore, will it be so visually appealing that it's worth it? These are questions that I hope I'm going to be able to answer at the very least. Her sister, right below below her. I have both of these listed as pastel pinstripes, and actually I don't think that she is, and that's important actually. I forgot about that. Just looking at her compared to her sister here. Look at that. Very different, especially in the head. And if you notice on bamboos, they have sometimes some of these little orange spots, some more than others, but I see it a lot. It's like they tend to throw a little bit more of these little teeny paradox things on. So she, bamboo pastel pinstripe Het Pied. And again, it was just another way for me to try to prove that out. So I have double the chance to do it. As long as something crazy doesn't happen and I don't create some sort of champion, I'll probably move on from both of these after I get my answer. Again, a decision I made early on, trying to make a quick splash in the industry. Both of them are locking and breeding. I don't know if she will go, but I'm pretty sure her sister, Genesis, which is the one without pastel, will go. And I sure as heck hope so, because this is the one that if she doesn't have pastel in here, which I don't think she does, would get me that answer without hitting a super pastel. We're on the last of some of the main racks. We still have some in the closet, and we still have our hog noses and a few of our holdbacks to go through. So we're gonna stay down here since we already adjusted the lights. And this one here is just a Het Pied. Nothing too crazy, but she's produced some really cool stuff for me. I honestly keep her around for breeding pet quality animals. I'm pairing her this year to a banana pastel pied. The reason I produce pet quality is because I think the pet community is very important, because for one, when I sell, I'm getting money that I can now put into projects that I really want to advance. But then I'm also sparking a love for animals, for snakes, especially when it's a younger kid, and education is incredibly important. Like I said at the beginning of this, I started this channel as a marketing thing, and what it became was something I did not expect, because when I get to educate people, it sparked a different kind of love and education around these animals, that they're not to be feared, and pet quality animals from a young age, because let's face it, a younger kid is not typically going to breed, but I have seen dad-son combos that they have told me that I inspired them to do that, and it started off with pets and it became breeders. There's nothing more humbling than that, and it became to the point where I realized that I also loved the educational process, and in terms of seeing people hold their first snakes, and sometimes it's even an adult, but selling a pet quality animal is some of the most rewarding things I do. Moving on would be an animal, well, I have a bit of a mixed bag. She's in shed right now. She's absolutely gorgeous. However, there's a bit of underlying issues here. Nothing with her. She's perfectly healthy, but she is a caramel albino pied. Now, when I got her for an incredible deal, and realistically, I just wanted the pied. I did not really care to work caramel albino, and I won't lie, I knew nothing at the time. This was a while back. I got her. She was full-size breeder, really. She only just laid her first clutch for me. Let's go ahead and show you that clutch. And there you go. Lots of little ones in here. Actually, I think these were from something different. I've had a lot of slugs this year, but these were her clutch. This is what a normal slug looks like. I've preserved these because I think that they're educational. This here is the most slug of slugs I've ever seen. Like I said, keeping animals like this can be a bit of a learning experience. And when I got her, I thought caramel albino was super cool. I was like, well, maybe I'll research this a little bit. Come to find out that caramel albinos have some issues. Caramel albinos, they say, can be a little bit more prone to kinking. Now, I have not seen enough evidence to believe that. And I also have heard that this is only when you're going visual to visual that is a possibility. Not when you go visual to het or het to het, that does not create those issues. The other thing I heard was that there are fertility issues, where that sometimes the females will have issues laying eggs, and she looked like she built and then just reabsorbed for 2 years in a row. And this year she definitely ballooned up, and I was like, she's laying this year. Oh, she did. And they were the smallest, most weird slugs I've ever seen in my life. For slugs, it's always disappointing, but that was almost interesting. She's a gorgeous animal, but with things like ultramel, which are very similar to caramel albino, and by the way, it's also a T+ positive, similar to Monarch even, why work something with the subfertility issues that I have experienced there when you could just get ultramel? I would say I kind of like this a little more than ultramel, but it's so close that it's not even funny. I will be moving on from her. I don't know if she'll ever breed for somebody. I don't think that she's in any danger, but quite frankly, she's got a great attitude. She could just make a really cool pet for somebody. So anyways, moving on. This animal means a lot to me. And ironically, again, you're gonna start seeing I create a lot of bamboo stuff, really, because that's what I did. I bought that male and I just wanted to breed and get experience. This is a bamboo pastel pinstripe, and that's all it is. Look at the sides of this animal. I don't know if there's anything crazy or if that's just some crazy paradox that is created. Plus you get a lot more oranges, these orange crazy stripes, but then this just nutty marbling. The orange is definitely a paradox, but look at this. This sparkling is on both sides, and it goes down the entirety of the snake from about here to the tail. She's absolutely gorgeous. I love how her head is. Everything about her is just absolutely amazing. And on top of that, this right here is the very first snake that I ever hatched. And I don't know if this is genetic, the sides. The only reason I even seem to think, and the reason why I had to keep her was because it was sentimental, it was the first one. And she can be useful for me from a pet standpoint because bamboos sell for me insanely well. And if I breed her back to another bamboo, I can create all white snakes. Oh no! Well, she needed a little bit more humidity. She wants to explore. She is also, I believe, gravid, but she's always been very, very special to me. I just love everything about her. Her bright, beautiful head. And it's contrasted so differently to the rest of her body. Look how bright she is in her head, and then how dark she gets near the back. The cool paradoxing. Look at the speckling of oranges. I've just always loved this animal, and I'll never get rid of her. And in fact, I kept everything about her. Here's her egg. I kept it, and I preserved it. That's what she came out from. This will be her first year breeding as well. Just kind of a special animal to me. If I could reproduce this, guaranteed, in every animal, I'd put GHI to shame, I'd put Pixel to shame, I'd put a lot to shame. I'd probably call it the marble. I don't know why, it just looks like marbling to me. But I don't think that that is that. I don't know where the heck that would come from, the pairing. Oh, it's to a normal, but she's a little bit different. We'll get to her. She's got some goofiness to her. So we'll see. Next up would be another animal that I don't know if I'll keep for too long, but she's huge. The biggest thing I have, she is just an Enchi. Again, representative of an old version of me, where I have all this space now, but I have no need to move on from these animals just yet, because I don't have their replacements in place yet. So, might as well get some cool animals out of them. Obviously, I need to take care of them regardless. At some point, I'll be able to move on from her. She's created some cool super Enchis for me in the past, all pet quality things. Although for 1 year, I was able to sell some of her babies with some hets that I had. I have an Enchi Pastel clown that I created some, well, super Enchi Pastel het clowns. Those were really cool looking. So just this pet quality, and then some breeder quality even. Some people have shown me the animals they created, which bred for them. That's always cool when you see something like that. Just a really big girl at one point, and she got about close to 4,000 grams for me. Only animal that I don't think I can wrap my fingers and thumbs around completely. Continuing on would be an animal we call Pacer, an inherited name. She sadly slugged out for us this year. Like I said, I'm just not having the greatest luck. She has never done that before. In fact, she usually lays 9 eggs for me that are all good. That can happen. The male always produced good too, so I don't know what it was. Just bad timing. Maybe I should have just given her a year off. She is, however, a very funky looking normal. I'm gonna give her some water.
Her bowl's a bit smaller than the rest of them, so.
She dumps her bowl. Well, we usually just add extra moisture when they're about to shed it, but she dumps it and creates it herself. So that's why we do this. But I bought her as a het albino, again, a long time ago. But she has a crazy funky pattern, and she's always throwing funky babies. So I don't know. Look at that. So much jumping over the back of it. I feel like you should always have a normal in your collection, especially as a breeder, especially if you want to prove things out or breed things out, because you breed them to a normal and then you isolate the gene. So I am not apt to sell her because she's very funky, very cool. And if she is just a normal, I still find use in just at least having one normal just because of that. But she always lays a lot of great eggs for me. Just this year didn't work out so well, did it? But that's okay. She's also jumpy ever since laying her eggs. Almost like she's still thinking she's protecting them, but I cleaned her off. She ate too. Next up would be another one. You'd notice a lot of these are animals that I think are a little bit more on the normalish side, because a lot of these animals might be on their way to being replaced. And that's no different here, and that would be VaHala, which is a Mystic Fire. I love what Mystic and Fire, how they work together, but I have no real need for it. I essentially got her as a means to create Blue-Eyed Lucy's, and now I've got better means to do that with some extra potentials for creating and hitting other things as well. So while she has been useful, she sometimes goes on these crazy hunger strikes, and she has not laid in a couple years for me now. She's only laid 2 clutches since she's been with me. So I think I'm just gonna move on from her, but she is cool. My first Blue-Eyed Lucy's actually came from her. And Blue-Eyed Lucy's are an incredible animal for a pet quality. If you want to sell pets to people, that is probably one of the top ones you should be creating. But she's beautiful. I think that you kind of flirt with, ooh, okay, sorry. I'm usually not like that. I caught her on a bad day. But she has some really beautiful contrast to her. You kind of almost have a little bit of flirting with like this really dark cut pattern, but it's a bit of a brownish too. Then you have lightness below it, so dark and light. So lots of really cool contrast in her. I don't think she's gonna lay this year. I don't know, that's kind of weird. Sometimes I can retain, and she has not eaten in a long time. She just doesn't seem like she's got the body shape for it. No, there's no way. I think I'm just seeing things. She's mad. Sometimes they'll get like that if they're pregnant or about to lay too. They'll just get hissy. Next up would be another normal normal. She's always been really good. However, I think this is her last year with me. She's actually an animal we showed off in our video on how to manage a respiratory infection. And the reason why I think I'm gonna move on from her is that while she has always bred very well, it's the weirdest thing. Anytime she gets pregnant, her face swells up, her neck swells up. Well, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm scared of what could eventually happen. And it's not even to the point where she's got a respiratory infection. I don't even understand it. So I've treated it like it's a respiratory infection in the past, and it seems to keep it at bay. And I'm always careful with her, but I don't want to hurt her. And if she can't do it for whatever reason, we'll go ahead and move on from her. But being just a normal, I have that other one. I don't need two of them. And the space is being taken up by other things that I'm growing out, so I kind of need it. Moving forward would be the aptly named white snake, which is a lesser butter, Hypo. And unfortunately, we found out from pairing her that hidden underneath all this that she's also spider. So technically, I do have two of them. Blue-eyed Lucy's hide everything that they are, and she is a visual Hypo. It's weird to say considering that she is not visual, but I got her as a proven breeder. She's one of the reasons why I don't really need the other ones, because I can create blue-eyed Lucy's from her, because she is a blue-eyed Lucy. She's guaranteed to always pass lesser or butter, which, by the way, lesser and butter are the same gene. So it's essentially a super lesser, which is why she doesn't have a big bug eye problem. Super lessers are known to have bigger eyes, and I do see it, but she doesn't have huge bug eyes like I've seen in some of them, but they are bigger than other snakes. The Hypo being in there is cool. I was excited about that at one point. I was going to breed it to my Spotnose that has Het and Hypo in him, but now that I know she has spider in her, I don't know if I want to do that, because I don't really care to make the Spotnose spider. It's not a deadly combo, but they can create some wonky animals. A lot of people know this, but Spotnose is in the spider family. It just doesn't have that same effect. I don't really know if I want to do that yet or not, even though I would love to hit the Hypo and get some Het clowns guaranteed as well on top of all that. Finally would be another one, which ironically, I think when we made her, she was actually a world's first. With that said, it wasn't the craziest world's first. This would be a Mystic Fire Pastel pinstripe. This is just a pet maker. And again, another one that creates me some blue-eyed Lucy's, because Mystic is part of the blue-eyed leucistic combination. And if I can hit some other cool things along the way with that, then so be it. That would be pretty cool. I believe she should go this year, but I'm not 100% positive. But I was gonna sell her, but my wife really wanted to keep her, and well, I guess I can find some use as a pet quality producer for me. All right, moving on to our first hognoses. This one here, he is an extreme red albino Het Sunburst, 50% Het Snow. So what that means, what the Het Sunburst means, he's Het Sable and he is albino. And then the 50% Het Snow means that he is 50% Het Exanthic. So I know it can get a little confusing. So let's put it this way. He's an extreme red albino, which extreme red, that is a polygenic trait. It's bred into him. If you look at other albinos, which I'll show you here soon, they don't have the vibrant reds. He is also 100% Het Sable, and then he is 50% Het Exanthic. He is a bit of a huffy dude, as you can see. It made you jump. Oh my. A lot of hognoses do this. They're just making a lot of noise. Get them, they're fine. And this is my male. This is who I wanted to create some cool sunbursts, and I hope he proves out as Het Exanthic, because I've got some girls he could eventually go to, possibly for that as well. Very vibrant reds. Fun fact, if you didn't know this, what I'm holding here is by definition technically a venomous snake. But as you can see, I'm not freaking out. I'm free handling a venomous snake. Why am I doing that? Because for two very important reasons. For one, and look at that belly. I don't care if that is off topic. This is important. Look at that belly. Lavender, bright orange, bright yellow. Gorgeous animal who will make gorgeous babies. But anyways, they're rear fanged venomous, which means he'd have to chew on me a bit to envenomate me. And two, the venom is no more potent than that of a bee or a wasp. Nothing too bad, and I am not allergic to it. While I would not enjoy it, I do not fear it. And if you look at their faces, they call them hognoses because they got a little bit of a pig snout there, but it's like they get like little shovels on their face. A gorgeous animal, which with age usually relaxes. Very underrated animal. Next up, this would be another albino. She is an albino. She's 66% Het Sable and 66% Het Exanthic. So you can see where I'm going here with a lot of this stuff. So I'm hoping to create sunbursts and snowbursts. You can see they love to burrow here. This is just a natural behavior of them, which is why I use aspen for them. They are not as needing of the humidity. However, I know people who keep them on cocoa husk and the same exact stuff that ball pythons are, and they do perfectly fine. But I really love these animals. They are unique in their own fashion, in their own way. She is also a tiger stripe, and then one thing I forgot to mention is that she is Conda. Now, tiger stripe is another polygenic trait. It is not something that necessarily gets passed down in terms of a 50-50 chance. Like Conda, she is a Conda, so one copy of it, but then she looks like she has these little tiger stripes rather than the normal version of a Conda. So the reduced pattern, I really like the tiger striping and whatnot. I think that if she ends up proving out, this could make make some really cool animals for me. I have yet to actually breed hognoses, but I keep them perfectly fine, and they eat incredibly well. In fact, that's your number one worry in terms of being bitten. It's not that they're mean to you, but they'll bite and they don't know any better, and they'll try to chew on you until they realize they can't take it down. And that's where you could possibly get envenomated, which is not a fun thing. But most bites don't end up in envenomation because, again, they have to chew on you for a little bit. They have to get down deep for that to happen. We're gonna go ahead and let her go. She actually is probably my nicest hognose, but she's also my most hungry hognose, and I don't feel like it ended up being a meal. And then one of my last hognoses over here would be this nice little girl, and she is a purple line tiger albino. So no other hets or anything like that, but I love the albinos, as you can see. This is where I want to go with the project here. But the purple line, again, is another polygenic trait. Now, you've noticed I have talked about polygenic traits 3 times in a row. She has 2 of them, purple line and tiger. And you see that bluff strike she just did towards my brother. Ironically, hognoses, when they strike, they don't. When they go to eat their prey, they just walk right up to it, and then they start chewing on it. They're very weird animals. So ironically, the strike is not something you need to worry about. They just hit you with their shovel nose to scare you off. And they make a lot of noise, they hiss a lot, and they hood up. You'll notice one of them here when I get to them later. But there are a lot of polygenic traits in hognoses. It's something I appreciate greatly because in ball pythons, we do have polygenic traits, but I swear people don't pay as much attention to them. I mentioned how I think that there's different lines of stranger, different examples. Well, there you go. They're all compatible, but I feel like there's ones that are better examples than others. Purple line brings in, well, a little bit more of these deeper colors and the purples and whatnot, and that is something that's not necessarily attached to the albino. It's just part of the snake. So ironically, when the animal produces something, that purple line will pass on with or without the albino. But it's a cool animal, and I just want to work the albino line. All right, next up, these are from our closet here. So I'm just gonna pull them out and put them on our table here. And this dude is my most angry male. He does not want to cooperate. He is a banana Yellowbelly het puzzle. I have my puzzle over there, but I bred it to a monarch this year. However, that's not something I always want to do. Once I get my hets, I'm good. Then I need to breed the puzzle, and that is why I got him. I would have preferred to get a visual, but I'll make my visual, and hopefully I'll make it with banana and Yellowbelly. Now, I probably got him a year earlier than I needed to, but I got him for an incredible deal, and I got him from a good breeder with Hulker's Herps. This is a cool animal, even though he is a bit of a butt, and he will pin himself in his container and make it so that it's hard for me to get him out. He's also, again, probably one of the more angry, especially for males. Hey, whatever. I like you, buddy. What's not to like about banana and coral glow, honestly? It's gorgeous, and there's a lot you can do with something like this. One cool thing I'd like to point out, look at these whites that just creep in there, almost like it's sugar or calico, but it is not. Just something pretty cool, and it's from the Yellowbelly, I believe. Just kind of creeping up in there. I couldn't be for sure. Just a cool animal. Another one in shed here. This would be my banana Pastel pied. He's bred for me. He's very small for a proven breeder, but he is, and he won't be here for too long. I just wanted to create some banana pieds, and I believe the female is going, so he will have achieved that. He might literally just be done after this year, but maybe not. I like pied and pastel. I think it works well together, and I think it works well in banana together too. I really like the purples and stuff that it brings in to here, and the sides and the peaks. The cool thing about what pied does is where the pattern meets, where it peaks, you get a lot of different interactions and stuff like that. These purple bruisings coming in. That's why I like things with a lot of pattern, but I do like those breaks to create as much as possible. This is one of the more perfect examples of what I like in terms of a whites and a pied in general. You can kind of see it kind of waving to the bottom too. It's very cool. Here's another one that just looks kind of almost like a normal. Again, you get a lot of stuff peeking up and over here. Look at that. So much of it, right? There, and there. Lots of top pattern, and there's probably a good reason for that, we think. He is 100% het clown, and then he is 66%, maybe he's 50% monsoon. And monsoon hets throw a het marker, and that het marker is to have the pattern going over the top of it like that. So we believe he will prove out. Once the tests are available, we'll be sending that into our GI as well, because obviously if he's not, well, he's not really any use to me, and I'll move on from him. But I got him for a good deal. Even the possible hets are incredibly expensive when it comes to monsoon. So if I can get him, and then if those tests become available and I can create some hets from him, it might be a very long time down the road, but if I can hit my monsoons rather than buying one for 10 grand or whatever the heck they still will be even at that time, that would be very preferable, because I do like them, even though I do have my own little thoughts and processes about how sustainable they are in terms of anything other than color in the future. They are still very cool, and the most wild pattern blower upper, that's a technical term totally in this industry. That's essentially what he represents for me. Just a chance to go for the monsoon eventually. This here is Micah, also one of my first original stakes. He is an albino 100% het pied. He was what I originally got to create albino pieds. He's a very small male, and we thought we were actually going to lose him. We thought he had cancer closer. He suddenly developed a very big bulge down here, but I was happily proven wrong because when I took him to the vet, they contacted me and said he has an incredible amount of hard poop stuck in him, and they showed me how to get it out. As long as you can get it out, you're good. Otherwise it would have to be surgery, and that would be very, very bad and very, very expensive. But they were able to do that, and they taught me how to do it, which is cool, which is why I love my vet. Again, another animal I don't think I necessarily need. I'd like to get the visual version of the Candino and just replace both of those animals, but he is very beautiful. And our last ball python would be this Enchi Pastel clown. I drove to Indianapolis to pick him up a long time ago as well. Another animal I don't think I'm gonna have for a crazy amount of time. I only bred him to one female, and we'll see where that goes. And that would be actually to the clown spider. After that, I think he'll find a new home, but he is cool. I've always liked his head pattern. They do kind of brown out, as you can see here though. When they're young, that whole body looks like the head. Very bright and vibrant, but the body kind of just browns out and stuff like that. Well, unfortunate, but that's something that just kind of happens. But he still creates cool babies that can be pretty powerful in the right combinations. You notice I did not pick up this one, and that is because it's the angriest hognose ever. He is hooding up like a cobra right now. He always does this. Sorry, buddy. I'm not even trying to mess with you right now. I'm just gonna get your tag so I can show everybody. Oh, don't try to run, please. Yeah, we're gonna get this to corral him just in case.
There you go.
Yep, I got him. Wonder if he's gonna pretend to die now. If I hold him like this, we should be fine. But he is an Arctic Conda, possible Het Toffee. And now I have a Het Toffee female in there that I'm hoping to put him to. That is also Arctic. So I'm gonna create Super Arctic, Toffee, and possible Conda as well. And what Conda does is it creates these little spots rather than mimicking the rattlesnake pattern in a way. The reason it's called Conda is because it kind of mimics the spots of a anaconda. Arctic lightens the animal up. And by the way, look at that belly. Again, Halloween. He also musts, and he has musted me because he's a prick. But he has always been just very ornery. I don't know what it is. I didn't do nothing to him. He's just an ornery little guy. And he is a full-grown proven breeder. Hognoses do not get that big, especially the males. Females will get bigger. Come on, go in there. Oh, not out there. Go in the home. Yes, go in the home. Dig into the home. There you go. Look. Look, 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 look. There you go. He is interesting because he acts like a little rattlesnake and a cobra, and he is loud and he hisses. But if I was ever worried about getting bit by a hognose, he was the one that I think would do it. And then the final snake, also a hognose. She is an Arctic Het Toffee belly. She's got some size on her. You can see her burrowing perfectly here. But again, I kind of just want to hate those toffee bellies, which is... Wow, that's kind of cool. See, this is why I love hognoses. They have a very distinct, unique personality. It's like she's playing peekaboo with us. Definitely a burrower. It's what their nose is really for, actually. You can kind of see where she creates these little tunnels kind of in a way. It's very cool, very unique. But obviously, I would like to create those toffee bellies, whether with the Aconda or not. It's just something new for me anyways with these hognoses. I definitely have gone in on breeding them. I've always really loved hognoses, and this is something that I couldn't pass up on when I finally got the opportunity to breed them. And she's got a much better size to her, so she'll be ready before every other one is. As you can see, they're much smaller. I wanted something that was closer to breeder ready. By the way, something unique worth saying, they feel different. It feels more like studded leather or studded armor rather than the ball pythons, which have scales that essentially overlap one another. There's actually a couple more here. I almost forgot about, not because I don't like them, but in fact quite the opposite. They are just our pets. My wife and I actually keep these next two in our room. This one, his name is Hercules, and it is hers. This is a bamboo lemon blast, and he's a real sweetheart. I'm not gonna mess with him too much because he recently had a very big meal, but he's really cool. It just kind of goes to show you how cool bamboo is. One thing I didn't mention is a lot of bamboos, in fact I think almost every one of them, have these really nice blue eyes, almost like an ice blue or a metal kind of color eye. One of my reasons I really love the bamboo gene. And last but most certainly not least is Gwen, my banana ball python. Gwen has actually been with me the longest of all of my ball pythons. I got Gwen as a pet when I did not necessarily consider breeding, and I thought that Gwen was a girl. Honestly, that's what I was told. Come to find out that he is not, and he is named Gwen after Gwen Stefani because of the banana. I have shown Gwen off in the past, but Gwen is my favorite snake. Not for the looks, but just because I have bonded with this animal on an incredible level. I trust Gwen implicitly, and Gwen trusts me. Bull pythons are normally head shy. Gwen, while I'm certain that he does not like it, I don't think he really cares if it's me. As you can see, there's really no reaction. Even good ones will kind of move back. And that's because when I held Gwen, I would sit at my computer desk for hours on end when she was, or he, sorry, I still call it a she to this day because I called him a she for so long, but I would just let him move around on my hand and he would go in between my fingers and I would kind of squish his cheeks. So he kind of got used to me doing this with his cheek and just got used to being touched on the head. Again, they don't like it, but they learn to tolerate tolerate stuff like that. This animal means a lot to me, like a lot. This is an animal that will absolutely never leave. If the worst were to happen and I were to have to completely leave the hobby, I would not get rid of Gwen. I keep Gwen and Hercules in different kinds of enclosures, similar to the ones I've shown off in the past, where it's kind of almost like a rack tub hybrid, and we interact with these animals. We still give them their privacy and whatnot, but they're in our room, so they see us every day. Like I said, this one just means a lot to me, even though it is just a banana. I've never bred him because, I mean, from a breeding standpoint, a male banana, I have other things I can do that to. I thought about it, and I did pair him once for the heck of it, but the pairing never took off, and you know, is what it is. He is my favorite though, just for sentimental reasons. Hope you enjoyed our walkthrough of all of our animals that we keep as breeding animals and as holdbacks. A little bit different this year having hog noses. I didn't have any when we did this one last year. Obviously, we're always changing. Things are being upgraded and then we're always adding. It's very much a growing journey. And again, I can't thank people enough for caring enough to join along on that journey and wanting to see these animals. I very much remember when I sat on YouTube in 2017-18, learning from people like Clint's Reptiles, Dave Kaufman, Garrick DeMeyer. There's a lot of people that I would watch, pretty much everyone that you probably still watch to this day, Brian. And to think that I would somehow be important enough for people to care and watch about is very humbling, and it means a lot, really. So hope you enjoyed. If you have any video ideas that you would like to see, this is the place to put it, because this is a video that we do essentially as a small way of thanking you. Let us know what you think. What's your favorite snake here? If you enjoyed a video like this, something that we're pretty well known for, I guess, is our walkthroughs of Tinley, and you can check out the most recent one right here.